breakfast. Very simple.
Okay, so the bottom of Kuf Tezayin of this. We're talking about the whole sugya. The Perik's talking about a woman comes and says that her husband died.
Right.
We had a couple of program ago when Eid Echad comes, and this sugya is about where she herself comes. So it says that she's allowed to get married. We rely on the testimony to get married. And now the Mishnah talks about how about getting her ksuba. It means if the husband really died, so then she's also eligible for ksuba. And it says she is trusted in order to remarry. And the question is, how about getting a ksuba also? So not only can she get married, she also is eligible to get a ksuba. If her husband died, so she gets ksuba also. She could get married, but she doesn't get ksuba. And Beishamai say it should be a kavachomer. If you will trust the testimony, even Erva, which would be Eishasish, and you trust that she's not Eishasish, she's allowed to get remarried. So are you not going to also trust her to give her money? Money is surely more lenient than Erva. Amulam Beisbekasha. Amulam Beisilo, Matsinu, top of Kuftit Zayin, Matsinu Shein, Ach Nechnas Nelanachal Apia. You also agree, I mean, whatever the answer to the Kasha is, you also agree that it doesn't apply to monetary issues because the Yorshim don't get the Yerusha. Means she testifies that her husband died. That means that she's allowed to marry. And also means that the Yerusha, the husband's estate, goes to his Yorshim, wherever the Yorshim might be. Here it says brothers or sons. If he has sons, sons. If no sons, then it goes to the father, not to the father, to the brothers. So you also agree that Yerusha, the Yorshim, are not eligible to get the estate just because she said that her husband died. I mean, you agree. And you don't say that there's a Kavach Homer. If you trust her Lagabi remarriage, so you should surely trust her Lagabi money. You don't say that. Why don't you say that? So whatever the answer is going to be, Rashi says, because Aguna, we only rely on her as far as her remarrying because there's a necessity. But you don't trust her for the monetary issues, even though it's a couple home. So we're still saying, so if you also agree, Bishama, you also agree that you don't trust her as far as the Yerusha, so you shouldn't trust her as far as Ksuba either. So Bishama say a new claim. That seems that Bishama also gives them that the first claim was not the real Taina, because they also say that you don't trust her as far as Yerusha. But we could learn from the text, from the wording of the Ksuba. This is what the words of the Ksuba say. If you marry somebody else, you could take the Ksuba. It means as long as she doesn't remarry, then she gets supported from the state and she is allowed to live on the husband's estate. If she marries, she gets Ksuba. So the wording of the Ksuba says that the Ksuba is dependent on her remarrying. If you remarry, you're allowed to get Ksuba. So even though you could say that as far as monetary issues, we don't trust her, but his hitchayvut, his mechuyavut to pay Ksuba, he himself depended it, what's the word? He himself made it depend on her remarriage. If she's allowed to get married, she's allowed to take the Ksuba. And Beisil gave in. Because of Beisil, how is Beishamai? Beisil agrees to Beishamai. They gave in. They retracted, and they said that it's true. She does get Ksuba. So to sum up the Mishnah, she says her husband died. She's allowed to get married, and the testimony is not enough to let the Yorshim get the Yerusha. The Yerusha is still going to be on hold. We don't know we don't know enough testimony that the Yorshim are allowed to take the estate. So that's going to be on hold. We don't know who gets the Yerusha until we get testimony that the husband died. As far as the Ksuba, that's an exception. That even though we don't trust her testimony as far as other monetary issues, but as far as her getting the Ksuba, the husband himself said that if you're allowed to remarry, you're allowed to get Ksuba. So she does get Ksuba. First Beisil was arguing, but then they gave in that she does get Ksuba.
So we believe her enough that she could get married.
And she could get Ksuba also, because the husband made it depend on that.
Right.
That's the Gemara. That's the Mishnah. Rav Chisda says there's also another exception. Besides this one exception that she gets Ksuba, it says that the Yorshim don't get the Yerusha. That's what I said earlier. They don't get Yerusha. She could get married. But Rav Chisda says there is a case of Yerusha that we do trust her. If there's a question of Yibum, means that she says that my husband died, we have no children. The case where she has no children, it says in the Mishnah, not only could she marry out, if she says my husband died, but if they have no children and she says my husband died, she also marries the brother-in-law. On her own testimony, she marries the brother-in-law. And what's the halacha when there's Yibum? That Yavam gets the Yerusha. We had that a couple of times, that it doesn't go to all the other Yorshim, the father, or even the father we hold, or the other brothers. It only goes to the Yavam. He gets the Yerusha. And here he's going to say that the testimony of the wife that she's allowed to do Yibum also allows the Yavam to get the Yerusha also. And he explains where does he get that from? Why is that an exception? We say usually that's not enough. You say that the Yerusha, the Yarshim don't get the Yerusha because of her testimony. Because Haim Darshu Medrash Ksuba, Anula Nidrash Medrash Torah, that they, Misham Vesila, they dash in the words of the Ksuba. What did the Mishnah say? Why is Ksuba an exception? Because it says that Ksuba is dependent on marriage. He wrote in the Ksuba, if you remarry, you get Ksuba. So he made it dependent. So here, the Torah made it dependent. We're not going to dash in the Torah. The Torah says that Yavam getting the Yerusha is totally on his Yibum. It says, Yakum al Shem Achim, the pasuk says that the brother, according to the Drash, according to the Pashup Shat, doesn't say that, but according to the Drash, it says that Yavam gets the estate. Yakum al Shem Achim v'meis l'nachla, that he gets the nachla of the dead brother. So if the Torah says that if he does Yibum, Yivamo Yavo Aleha, the Yivma, and Yakum al Shem Achim v'meis, so if the Torah makes it dependent, if he does Yibum, he gets the nachla. It's true that maybe only because of a guna, but the Maisa, the Torah made it dependent. The same way the Ksuba says, if you get married, you get Ksuba. The Torah says, if you do Yibum, you get the nachla. So he is believed. Since he did come, he took his brother's wife, so he gets the nachla also. That's the end of that Gemara.
So if by Yibum, does she get a ksuba or just this guy gets?
By Yibum, she doesn't get ksuba. Yibum, now she's married, and she'll get ksuba if the Yavam will die or something, or divorce her.
Oh, right. So there's no ksuba.
No, yeah, because she continues the marriage.
He gets the money.
But now he's responsible to pay the ksuba. The ksuba gets transferred to the new husband, to the brother. But she doesn't get ksuba, but she's married now. If he gives chalisa, then I'll give ksuba. But the ksuba is going to be that will be gotten also eventually when the Yavam is going to divorce her. But as far as the nachla, the Yavam does get the nachla.
So whatever the husband had, if he had millions of dollars,
right, it goes to the Yavam. Right.
That's what trust the girl a lot.
Yeah. True. Okay. If the guy comes back, okay, but then we'll start all over again. Then there's a lot of trouble over there. But as far as trusting goes, it wasn't just a sikkum, a summary of what it says so far. When she says her husband died, she's allowed to remarry. She's also allowed to remarry the Yavam if there are no children. As far as Yerusha in general, we don't trust her that the Yorshim should get Yerusha. Let's say there are other Yorshim, sons, there are sons, so they don't get the Yerusha. That's because she said her husband died. We have to wait to further verification. As far as the Ksuba, she does get the Ksuba, because the husband, when in the ksuba, that's what's written over there, that if you remarry, you get the ksuba. So she got remarried, she gets the ksuba. And also, if there's yibum, so the yavam is going to get the yerusha, because the Torah makes that dependent on his doing yibum. He did yibum, he gets the nachla. New Gemara. The next Gemara talks about how much do we trust her when she says that.
If she does not get the imai, she does not get the ksuba.
Here's going to be talking about she got the heter. She got the heter to get married. The next one we'll talk about if we see she's interested in the ksuba and not in remarriage, so maybe we're not going to be matir her to marry. But if we do matir her to marry, so here he's saying that the tinasi lacher means that she actually got married and not dafka if she got mutter to get married. I hear. I didn't think of that. Here it says that if she remarries, then she gets the ksuba. And here, if she doesn't remarry, she came and said, my husband died, and she's not getting married. She doesn't find the shidduch for a couple of years. Is that going to be that she doesn't get the ksuba until she gets remarried? I didn't think of that.
Why does she get the if she gets married? The new husband's going to take care of it. Why is she?
No, that's not it. That's not it. The first, she marries another husband. He also has to give her ksuba, but she's eligible to the ksuba from her old husband. Doesn't have anything to do
Why
with.
does she have to wait till she gets married to get the two?
That's what it says in the
One of the conditions.
No, usually it could be that a regular woman that her husband dies or divorces, so she gets ksuba. Usually she doesn't want the ksuba. Usually she wants this. She's eligible to remain on the husband's estate. She gets parnas, she gets mazonos, and she gets living quarters without anything. But once she demands the ksuba, then she doesn't. Then she leaves. Then she leaves off, and they give it a lump sum of the ksuba. Maybe it's a lot, whatever it is. But she doesn't anymore get the mazonos. Otherwise, she goes indefinitely that she gets mazonos, and she lives in the husband's old house. But usually that's her decision.
Okay,
But over here, the issue is, do we trust her that he died? And here, the only reason why we give her an ksuba is because it says in tinasi lacher. So Dr. Fine is asking that only if she actually marries. If she doesn't marry, so maybe she's not eligible for the ksuba yet. Only if she actually gets married. So that I don't know. I don't know. The Gemara continues. Amar Rav Nachman. If a regular case, this case that she says a regular case, I mean in this particular scenario that she's coming to say testimony your husband died, and therefore give me permission to get married. So yes, that's what we said. That's what we're talking about the whole time. And also, after the Mishnah finished talking, that means you tell her, yes, you can get married. There's enough, your testimony is enough that we trust you're allowed to get married. And also you get ksuba the way Bishama Bisil also agreed that you get ksuba. Wonderful, very good. But now here comes a suspicious case. She says, my husband died, give me ksuba. She doesn't talk about getting married. She says, my husband died, I want ksuba. That sounds a little suspicious. I mean, she doesn't want to get married. She just wants the ksuba. So then the halacha is then you don't even give her permission to get married. It sounds like it's suspicious that she only wants the money. The husband might be alive, and she wouldn't go ahead and get married because she knows her husband's really alive. She just wants to get ksuba. Here's a opportunity for her to steal from the husband, that she'll say my husband died, doesn't trust her, and gives her permission to get married. She wouldn't chalila get married. She doesn't know she's a married woman, but she gets ksuba. And then she'll run away someplace. So my time, how come we don't allow her to get married? So she just come in for the ksuba. The fact that she just comes and says, my husband died, give me ksuba, it looks suspicious. And we don't trust her for anything. You don't give her the ksuba, you don't even allow her to get married. That's Rav Nachman's statement. Now the Gemara is going to ask questions based not kashas, but she'elot. What's going to be in different scenarios where it looks a little bit suspicious. This case was she only said ksuba. She didn't mention a word about getting married. My husband died, I need ksuba. Give me ksuba. So then we don't trust her for anything. We say, go home, wait for your husband. How about if she said two things? She said both things. My husband died, give me permission to get married, and ksuba. After two issues. It doesn't sound bad. She needs two things. Even so since she does mention the ksuba, so that sounds like she's interested in the ksuba. Maybe she doesn't really want to get married. She just wants the ksuba, so we should not trust her. Whatever issues she has a few issues. She wants to get married. She wants the ksuba. It doesn't show any raise. It doesn't show a kasha just because she asked for the ksuba also. That's two tzadim. The Gemara wants to know if she's asked for two things, does that take away the reliability, and we're not going to allow her to get married? So in terms of this day in the Shamalu Baydina, but the more it does have a sound to say that that's okay. Even though she asked for ksuba also, but she asked to get married. So since she asked to get married and also to get ksuba, it's not a problem, and will also be matter her to get married and get ksuba. But how about she said the opposite order? She says first, in the order of her request, she comes to Bezin and says, my husband died, give me ksuba, and also give me permission to get married. The fact that she preceded the request for ksuba, then maybe that sounds suspicious. The first thing she mentioned was suba. Sounds like that's what she's interested in, and maybe she's not so interested in getting married. So Rashi seems to say that she doesn't know. Really, she wants to get married. The reason why she said ksuba first is because she has some lumdus. We don't know that maybe she thinks the only reason of her getting married she only can get permission to get married if she gets ksuba. We don't know. Rashi doesn't explain what the lumdus is. I mean, this woman has a lumdus, so we don't know. That maybe she thinks that her heter to get married is dependent on her ksuba. Here's the Rashi. Shema kisvura hi shezua terasa. Maybe that's the way she thinks. She gets mutter to get married when she gets the ksuba. Maybe she thinks in her head that like that.
So the fact you could be maker.
Yeah, that would mean that it's not suspicious. Right. She really wants to get married. The way she said it was, give me my ksuba in order that I can get married. It's not true. There's no such thing. She can get married without getting ksuba. Maybe that's what she thinks.
I would think that the reason why she wants the money is because then she'll find the husband.
But yes, it could be. But you're saying really she wants to get married. The reason why she takes super first is because it's also on her mind because she wants that money in order to get married.
Right, yeah, because she's more.
She
has a couple dollars.
Yeah, so it could be, but it doesn't fit into the words of the Gemara so much. Rashi probably is trying to these words. Hold the loyada on her ksuba that she won't be able to get married. That's how the Gemara seems to say. Maybe your reason is also a good reason that there's not a kasha she's asking for ksuba. But maybe the point is that since her main point is to get married, she should have said it first. She should have said that. Give me permission to get married. I also need money. Give me ksuba. So that's what the Gemara is being done on. The fact that she said ask for the ksuba first, does that show that she's really only interested in the ksuba? So that the Gemara leaves as a question. To sum it up, that if she says, my husband died and I want to get married, so the Mishnah comes out that she could get married and she gets ksuba also. If she only asks for ksuba, we don't even let her to get married. If she says, I want to get married and also ksuba, so the Gemara seems intim saloma, Rambam Paskins, that in the intim saloma shows that we rely on that also. So she's allowed to get married, she gets ksuba. But in this case, there was a question about if she first asked for ksuba, give me ksuba, and permit me to get married, that the Gemara is not sure. Maybe that's the reason why we shouldn't trust her at all. Maybe we could trust her and give her ksuba. I saw that the Rambam Paskins over here. Interesting thing. The Rambam Paskins, you do allow her to get married, and the ksuba you don't give her. So the Gemara, even though the Gemara's question of Tikka was maybe we shouldn't allow her to get married either. But since the Gemara leaves a bit of suffix, the Rambam says you do allow her to get married, you don't give her the ksuba. And it says if she got ksuba, she was told that she can keep it because it's a suffix. So all that was about the namanas of a woman, not only in order to get married, but also we give her a ksuba. And the question was, if it looks suspicious, then sometimes we don't give her even permission to get married because it just looks like she wants to get the ksuba and run away. Next Mishnah. So this is very interesting that the Mishnah now goes back to the din of Eid Echad, which is very interesting. I don't understand the order of the Mishnayos. In the 10th parak, it spoke about an Eid Echad. And then our parak spoke about herself, saying, my husband died. And the Chorah is two sugyas. And here the Mishnah goes back to the sugi before, about Eid Echad, which is interesting, the organization of the Mishnah. I don't know why the Mishnah arranged it this way. This Chorah should have been back in the 10th parak. Here it goes. And we said that Eid Echad is Neman. Over there it said even Psulim, even Krovim, everybody's believed to say that the husband died, then she can get married. The Gemara over there comes out, it has to do because she's also like a mitzvah, she's going to be scared to get married unless she's sure that the evidence is good because or else a lot of consequences. So we believe even Psulim, even the Isha, women are also believed. But here the Gemara said, the Mishnah says there are some exceptions. There are 5 women that are not trusted to testify that the woman's husband died. So I made a little chart over here. If it helps anything, here's the top of the list that went. Okay, it goes from the left to the right in the English way. So here, this the diagram is going to show the 5 cases of the Mishnah: Chamosa, Bas Chamosa, Tzarasa, Yevimta, Bas Bala. These are the 5 cases that they're not believed. So the woman who is not being believed, there's the one in red. She's the one who is suspect that she's lying, and she's saying testimony that this man died. All these exits here means we're not sure that he did. He's not here. She went to Medina Sayyam overseas. Question is if he died, and the wife, his question is if she's allowed to be married. So usually at Eid Echad comes, anybody comes and says that the husband died, so she's believed. But here that she can get married. But here it says that her mother-in-law comes and says that my son died, and the daughter-in-law can get married. So we don't trust them. We don't trust that. All these questions will be why. There's going to be some negias with Choshesh that there might be some animosity over there. And this is the famous Gemara that there's animosity from a possible animosity from a mother-in-law to a daughter-in-law. And therefore she wants to mess up her daughter-in-law. And would even say so far to say false testimony that her son died and the wife will be married and then the husband will come back and she'll be messed up. Now, people take this to mean that, wow, you see the terrible hatred between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. I think that Mishnah only means that there's a possibility over here. And therefore, B'choshesh doesn't mean it has to be that way. You find Rus and Naomi. There's a classical case of how much there could be love between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. But this means it could happen, and therefore we're not going to trust the testimony. The Gemara is going to go through all the negias that we might say a little different. Why does a mother-in-law have complaints against the daughter-in-law? We might have our own kind of outlook. The Gemara is going to talk about a lot of monetary issues. There might be money things that she has in the back of her mind, which we don't think that way. I think I'm not sure. But
the mother-in-law thinks that whoever
the daughter-in-law
son is not good enough.
Not good enough. My son. Okay, so the Gemara is going to say a little different. But so she's not believed. This woman, the mother-in-law, is not believed to say that her daughter-in-law can get married, which means she's testifying that her son died. We're not going to allow the wife to get married on the testimony of the mother-in-law. The second case is Bas Chamosa. Bas Chamosa means the mother's-in-law's daughter, which we call a sister-in-law. It means that the husband's sister, she comes and says, my brother died. So the wife is allowed to get remarried. We don't trust. We don't trust the sister-in-law. Same reason? What's the same reason? No one's good enough for my brother.
Yeah.
But the Gemara is not going to say all that.
They had a fight.
Why do they have a fight? Why should they have a fight?
No, they had a fight somewhere along the way.
Everybody can have a fight. That's our neighbor also could have a fight. But
take it to the next level.
okay, so we close that she's lying and she wants her sister-in-law to get messed up, and she's going to be married. Then the husband's going to come back and she's going to be out. So that's some kind of an agias for Choshesh, and we don't trust the testimony of the sister-in-law, what we call the sister-in-law, the daughter of the mother-in-law is not trusted to say that the husband died. The second case is Sarasa, means a man has 2 wives, and one of them comes and says that our husband died. So she can get married. She says, my husband died. But there's a co-wife also. She also can get married. No. The one who said, our husband died, she's allowed to get married. The Maze Bali. But that's not enough to allow the co-wife to get married also. Why? Because that she's lying, because she has a rivalry over here and she hates her co-wife. and therefore she wants it to get messed up. So she's going to say,
She's gonna mess herself up just to get back at the other.
right. So it could be, you're saying extreme case that she even remarried. It could be that she said her husband died
Right.
and she doesn't get married.
Oh.
And you get married, and then she goes there. But it could be, you're right, even if she's gonna, that's I think most talk about later on, even if she would get married, then she's also gonna lose out. She's also gonna get thrown out of the husband's house. So I think the Gemara will talk about it eventually. But so far it just says that she's not believed. And even though she says our husband died, she's allowed to get married, but a co-wife is not allowed to trust that testimony to get remarried.
So maybe we wait for if she gets married, then we let the other one.
Right, but I think that also not true. I think even if she remarries, it's also not. And the next, let me hear the Mishnah doesn't say. The next case is Yevimta. The word Yevimta means a sister-in-law, which in English we call this also. Both these cases are sister-in-law. This case, Bas Chamos, is also a sister, the husband's sister is also called the sister-in-law. But the word Yevimta means the two wives of two brothers. Like we call the whole yevamos means, that's what yevamos means over here. It means the wives of two brothers. So here you have that this woman's sister-in-law means her husband's brother's wife comes and says that your husband died. So she's not allowed to trust that. She can't trust to get married. Why? Doesn't say.
But they're not sisters.
They're not sisters. They're just the wives of two brothers, which we call sisters-in-law. And it says both kinds of, what we call in English sister-in-law, both kinds of sister-in-law, either the husband's sister or the husband's brother's wife. Also, you cannot trust that testimony in order to be married. And here, the Gemara is not going to say why. Rashi says the reason is because they might eventually become co-wives. Means there's if the husband dies and the brother does yibum to her, they can end up being co-wives. So she doesn't want that. So what's she going to do? She's a very interesting scheme that she has. She'll say that your husband did die. You do become a yevama, and now they're going to be co-wives. But she knows it's only temporary because she knows that the husband's going to come back in a couple of weeks, and then she's going to be thrown out, and she's safe from being a co-wife from this woman forever. So that's what she says. The Gemara doesn't talk about it as far as I saw. So because there's a chash that there's some ulterior motive over there, we also don't trust her, and she can't get married just because of that testimony. And the last case of the Mishnah is Bas Baila, which means this would be the case that a woman's, what we call it, a stepdaughter, her husband's daughter, not her own daughter, her husband's daughter. It means it seems that a daughter would be believed to say that, but a husband's daughter is not believed to say that my father died and you can get remarried, because there's an animosity between the stepdaughter and the stepmother. True? Here she's saying my father died and you could remarry. No, is that she just wants to get rid of this stepmother, so she wants that she should remarry, and then her father's going to come back and say, what's this? You got remarried, and she gets thrown out. She can't stay with her husband anymore, and this way the stepdaughter got rid of her stepmother. So again, why should a stepdaughter hate the stepmother? So nowadays we'll say all kinds of reasons. The Gemara also is going to talk about monetary issues, as far as I remember. That's the Mishnah. Mishnah says 5 cases. Back to the Mishnah inside. Those are the 5 women that are not believed to say your husband died and you could be married. So here the Mishnah is pretty vague. It expects us to know the Mishnah in Gittin that says that even these 5 women are also trusted to bring a get. If they bring a get and say, we know that in order to authorize the get, you have to say, if you come Medina Sayyam, you have to be able to say that I saw the signing, I saw the writing of the get. And even these 5 women are also trusted. And here you say by Mace to say that your husband died, they're not trusted. If for any reason we don't accept their testimony as far as the death of the husband, why do we accept their testimony as far as the divorce of the husband? So what's the difference? Because here they're coming with a document. It's not just their words. They come with a document, they have a get that's signed. So to say that she forged the whole thing and got the aid, and that's already a big scheme. We don't we're not choshesh that they did all that. But over here, it's just on their word. So it could be that they're lying in order to mess up this relative, and therefore we don't trust them. But over there, she comes with a document, then just the fact that she says the same 5 cases
with the get.
So then they are trusted. Then they are. But if they come just to say Meis Balech, so then they're not trusted.
And all these people could be a witness on the get?
No. You have to have kosher witnesses. This is just a shliach. The shliach comes and says that I was the messenger in order to bring the get, and I can testify that it was written kol l'shma, like that. Okay.
Is there something about a witness can't be a family member?
Yeah, for sure. Usually not.
Get is no different. Get is
yeah, for sure. You have to have kosher Eidim, right? Shouldn't be relative, shouldn't be possible. Yeah, a get. But now I'm talking about Eidim. We're talking about the shliach who brings the get. and says b'fanei nechtam. That's not the sign down. He's not one. He's not his aid. He's not a witness on the get.
Just the shaliach.
He's a shliach, and he's also testifying b'fanei nechtam.
Right.
So that it says they are believed. Even these 5 women also believe. You don't have to have kosher edim for that, and even these 5 also. But as far as saying meis balech, that your husband died and you can get remarried, so then we don't trust these 5 women. Okay, the Gemara continues. Ibalu bas chamia mahu. So here's bas chamia. Just put her on. What's bas chamia over here? So we said bas chamosa. The second case here was bas chamosa, the daughter of the mother-in-law, which we call a sister-in-law. There's another kind of a sister-in-law that is the husband's sister, but through the father. The daughter of the father-in-law. Here she is. This is the woman in question. She wants to know if she could be married, and the father's-in-law's daughter. Oh, I should have made. I forgot to make a shekel over there. Whatever. This is a woman over here. This is a woman. So she comes. She comes and says that my brother died. Before we said the same thing, but before it was the relation through the mother. Here's a common father. So that's the Gemara's question. Ibailu bas chamiyamahu. Well, the daughter of the father-in-law, she believed to say that my brother died, your husband, and you're allowed to be married. What's the question? Maybe the reason why let's just maybe put this on a second. Maybe I could get both of them at the same time. Maybe the reason that Maybe the reason that daughter over here, why does the bas chamosa, why is she not trusted? Because for whatever reason the mother hates the daughter-in-law, so she's with her mother. She's on the same side as the mother. If there are 2 teams, she's on the mother's side. If the mother-in-law hates her daughter-in-law, so then this daughter is on the same side. She also hates her. And if so then what's the Gemara say? Here the mother doesn't hate her. Here it's the daughter of the father, but there's no mother. The mother is somebody else. She's not the same mother. So she doesn't have a mother who hates her. The father has no problem. The father-in-law doesn't have a problem with the daughter-in-law. It's only the mother-in-law has a problem. So the daughter of the mother-in-law, she has a problem, but the daughter of the father-in-law has no problem. So then according to that, she should be kosher. Taima, the Ema Sanyala, Hinami San is the reason because since the mother hates her, so her mother hates the daughter-in-law, so therefore she also hates her. Here there is no mother that hates, so there's no problem. Time of the Baskamosa, the Amrak, Achla, the Girsana, the Ima. And Achanami Kamra, Achla, the Girsana, the Beinisha. Here the Gemara says the reason why the sister-in-law hates her sister-in-law is not because the mother hates, because she has her own problem, that she's going to be eating up the work of my mother. That means that eventually the brother is going to yarshin his mother, and that's going to mean that the wife is going to be benefiting from it. She doesn't feel good about the fact that her sister-in-law is going to be eating up her mother's estate. If that's true, so then by the father also it applies that eventually the Yerusha is not going to come to me; it's going to come to my brother, and she's going to be benefiting from it. She's taking the Yerusha kind of thing. The toil of my mother. Pointed out, it applies here also. That's the second side. The reason why the Bas Chamosa hates her sister-in-law is because she says that she's eating up the toil. Rashi says the word Gersana, I don't know where it comes from. Rashi says it means the toil of my mother. She's eating up the toil of my mother. The work of my mother is going to go to her. So here too, she says that she's going to eat up the toil of my father. The Bein Neshoy.
That's why she hates him.
Where do you have the word? Sanya? Sanya means hate, yeah. And here, she's going to say, Achla, the Gersana, the Bein Neshoy. She's eating the toil of my father. Bein Neshoy also means the father, maybe means the father after he dies, which is the case over here, that the Yerusha is going to go to my brother, and then she's going to be eating it, and maybe she hates her also. So the one wants to know what's the din of the daughter of the father-in-law. Tashma. So the means the Mishnah because it doesn't say in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says only 5. If you're going to say also the daughter of the father-in-law is also, you should have said 6. But the Gemara says that wouldn't be a raya. The Ima, they changed it to Loshna Bas Chamosa, Loshna Bas Chamia. Even though the Mishnah does say the mother-in-law, but it's not dafka. If the reason is because she's eating up the toil of my mother, so then it goes without saying that it means also eating up the toil of the father. So the Gemara doesn't think that that's a raya, even though it does say the mother-in-law is not dafka, means maybe the father-in-law also. So the Gemara doesn't bring a proof. That's the end of the Gemara. That's the end of that Gemara. Rashi says, Taisha says this is a new Gemara now, it's not a continuation. It's not Makasha coming up. but it's not relevant to what they said before. The kasha was that it says 5. Maybe that's right that there's no 6. The Gemara says no. It could be that these two things are the same thing, so it's all included in the same. Mother-in-law or father-in-law is all the same, and therefore we don't know. This was the first question. So this question about Bas Chamia, the Gemara asked the question. The Gemara didn't bring a proof. To study either it's because the mother hates, so the daughter hates, and here it doesn't apply because the father doesn't hate, and the sister-in-law has no reason to hate, or the reason why she hates is because the sister-in-law is going to be getting indirectly is going to be benefiting from the Yerusha, the toil of my father or of my mother, so too the toil of my father, and therefore the Gemara doesn't bring right to this question. The Gemara continues. This means probably a brisa that in our Mishnah it says 5. There's a brisa that says 7. And doesn't have to do with the Gemara before, because at most we had 6 before. This is a kasha stam, nothing to do. Taisha says, the bottom Taisha says, I'm a season part, the Lov Tanya Chamish. Our Mishnah says 5, and there's another Mishnah, a brisa that says 7. So it wouldn't even help us to say about the daughter of the father-in-law, because that only would have made 6. So and this needs a new explanation. Where do you get 7? Where do you get 7 women that hate each other, that hate one another? The Gemara answers, here Yehudi. That's a machlokes the Tan. Where's this the Tan? It is a Mishnah. I didn't notice. It's the Tanya, good. It's a brisa. The Tanya of Yehuda Mosif Af Eishes Av Kala. 2 more on the list. 2 more, and we'll put that on over here. Eishes Av and a Kala. So Eishes Av is all the way on the bottom right over here. Eishes Av, which would mean what's the case over here? That a stepmother is not trusted to say to her stepdaughter, "Your husband died." Before we spoke about Bas Baila, that meant a mother-in-law. I'm sorry, the daughter-in-law, the stepdaughter. The stepdaughter is not trusted to say that my father died, and therefore you, stepmother, can get married out, because maybe she wants to just get rid of her. Here it talks about the opposite case, that the stepmother is not believed to testify to her stepdaughter. Is that good? We're together? That the stepmother is not trusted to say to her stepdaughter, your husband died and you can be married. And all that's Eishasav. And Kala is this first case here all the way on the left, that the daughter-in-law is not believed to tell to her mother-in-law, your husband died and you could be married. Before the Mishnah spoke about mother-in-law not being trusted to say to her daughter-in-law. And here it's the daughter-in-law saying to the mother-in-law. So if you add on these 2 cases, that's how you have 7. You have the 5 of the Mishnah, plus these 2 cases, Eishasav and Kala. Amru lo. And last narrow line, they say it off list 7. It's true, but it's not 7, it's 5, because it's the same thing, it's just opposite. Before we said Bas Baal, which we called stepdaughter is not believed, so too, it's the same relationship. So therefore the stepmother is also not believed. And here we said the mother-in-law, so too the daughter-in-law. So it's true, we agree to you, but we don't list it as 7 because it's the same thing. But the first white line, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's not the same. Bishlam Chamosa Sanya Lolakala, the Amakachla Legisani, Alakala, my time was Sanya Lachamosa, and Bishlam Basbal, the Sanya Leisha Saav, the Amakachla Legisani, the aim, Ala Esha Saav, my time was Sanya Lebasabal. The Buddha says it's not the same, it's only one directional, means the case of, how does which one did the Gemara do first? I forgot, the Gemara does first Chamosa, in this case, the Gemara goes first. The Gemara says the mother-in-law has a reason to hate the daughter-in-law. Which we didn't talk about yet. No one spoke about it. The Gemara didn't explain why does it. We said we understand. Nowadays people have all kinds of reasons why the mother-in-law might hate the daughter-in-law. But the Gemara doesn't talk about those reasons. The Gemara talks about the monetary issue, that the mother-in-law is thinking that she's eventually going to eat up my work. Means eventually the Yerusha, my money goes to my son, and she's going to be eating it up. That's why she has Titus against her daughter-in-law. That's not a reason why the daughter-in-law should have Titus on the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law is not going to get anything about her work. So Abiyudah says not the same. Just because she said that a mother-in-law is not trusted doesn't mean a daughter-in-law shouldn't be trusted. And also by the stepmother, stepdaughter, even though we said that, how does it go over here? That the stepdaughter is not believed because she doesn't like the fact that her stepmother is eating up the money of her father. But that's not a reason why the stepmother should have any tightness on the stepdaughter. Why is that true? Let's see the Gemara inside. Abida says, Bishlam, the mother-in-law hates the daughter-in-law because she said she's going to eat up my toil. But the daughter-in-law has no problems against the mother-in-law. Why should she hate her? And also the other way, Bishlam Basabal, the Sanya Leishas Basabal, the stepdaughter Did I get it right again? Bas Habal. Yeah, the stepdaughter, she has problems with the stepmother, because she says the aim that she's eating up the toil of my mother, means that it's assumed that the husband means has the money that her mother, she had a mother once upon a time, whatever reason happened over there, either she got divorced or died, and the father has money that let's say she died, and the father is eating up the mother of the toil of his late wife, and then he remarries, and then this new wife is eating up the toil of my mother. So she doesn't look at good eyes at the stepmother. She's eating up the toil of my mother. But over here, is there any reason why the stepmother should have complaints against the stepdaughter? So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says that it's not the same. You just can't flip it over, even though it said chamos and it said basbal. There's not a reason to apply that to the opposite. So it's not the same. So I have to list it again. Now the Gemara says, okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says that it's not the same. But the question is, so why did you say that it's asa? It means everybody agrees that they're also not believed. And he says the reason doesn't apply. So why does he not say that they're not believed? Here the words are a little bit difficult. Elamai mosif tarti. Elakala my time sanya. Okay, but the verse over here saying, so why does Rabbi Yehuda say that it's asa? Kala my time sanya lachamosa. The megala livna called the Eishes Avnami Sanya Labasabal, the Megala Lavia called Avda. So the Gemara says no reasons according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the reason why he says that Eishes Av and Kala they're also usher is because a new reason. The reason why a daughter-in-law doesn't like her mother-in-law is because she suspects that the mother-in-law tells her son all kind of bad things about her. Means that the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, the mother-in-law sees what the daughter-in-law is doing. And she tells her son, your wife is not good. She does this, she does that. So that's the reason, not the monetary issue. The monetary issue is only one way, that the mother-in-law has tinus on the daughter-in-law. But the daughter-in-law doesn't have tinus on monetary tinus, but she has other tinus that she thinks that the mother-in-law is telling her son, my husband, all the bad things that I do. And the other ways also, the Eshasav here, the case of the stepmother, has complaints against the stepdaughter because she thinks that the stepdaughter is telling her father all the bad things that I do. That means that the women are together and they see each other as false, and the choshish that the outsider here is going to mess up with the marriage, that my daughter-in-law is telling my husband all kinds of bad things about the stepdaughter is telling her father all kinds of bad things about me. That's the reason Rabbi Yehuda holds that these two people are also usher. The Gemara goes back to the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan have to explain why they said it's the same reason. Rabbi Yehuda said it's not the same reason. The monetary issues only go one way. Rabbanan, this is a famous Gemara. In the same way that water reflects the face to the face, means if you look in the mirror, you look in the water, the reflection shows you back what you have. So too is the heart of a person to a person. That a person, if one person loves the other person, he's going to love him back. If he hates the other person, he's going to hate him back. It doesn't have to have any logic. If one person feels that I'm being hated, I'm going to hate back. And therefore, it's true that the reason of the hatred is only one directional. The mother-in-law starts hating the daughter-in-law because she thinks that you're going to be eating my toil. And the daughter-in-law feels that, then she's going to hate her back. So it doesn't have to have any reason. And also the other ways, the stepdaughter, she feels the animosity of the, how does it go? The stepmother feels the animosity of the stepdaughter. And therefore, the stepmother is also going to hate the stepdaughter, even though the animosity really only should go one way. That the daughter-in-law, the stepdaughter has tinus that on the, not tinus, but a bad feeling that the stepmother's eating up her mother's toil. But once you have that animosity, it's going to be two directional. Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't he agree that that's enough reason, even if it doesn't have to make sense? Once there's hatred one way, then it's going to be a two-way street. So Rashi says that the pasuk is not talking about emotions between people. It's only talking about Divrei Torah. Rashi says two pshatim over here. Either it means that the more that you learn, the more you're going to know. Is that Rashi says? That if a person, lefi panim b'leiv, look at the Rashi over here. Lefi panim b'leiv sha'ata lomeid that if you work to know the Torah, then you're going to know. That if you work, you're going to know. If not, that means that the Torah gives to you what you give to it. If you toil in the Torah, you'll get the results. If the Rebbe explains his facial expressions are calm and friendly, and he cares about the student, then the student is going to be able to understand the Torah, if not. But it doesn't have to do with other emotions of relationships. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you wouldn't have that. That's why he has to have a new reason why there's a hatred between the daughter-in-law and the stepdaughter. The Gemara continues. If anybody wants the air conditioner, so please feel welcome, whatever anybody needs.
Who doesn't like it?
Okay, whatever's good for everybody. One line up from the bottom.
Good.
One more case over here on the bottom. Amar Rav Acha Bar Avya. We said, let's go to the chart a second. Our mother, where do we go here? I missed the chart. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Here's a case of Chamosa Bar Lachem Mikain. Means that we said a mother-in-law has problems with her daughter-in-law.
Right.
We said the reason is, why is the mother-in-law have problems? Because she's going to eat up my toil. Here is a question of a future mother-in-law. It means it might be a mother-in-law. Right now it's not a mother-in-law, but it might be a mother-in-law. Here's the case. You have a woman over here, try to get a little more center, that here's the woman in question if her husband died, and she has a possible future mother-in-law. What's the case? That it's the mother of the husband's brother. Here you have, he's the yavam, he's the possible yavam. Her husband's brother's mother. Now, right now, there's no relationship. It's the husband's brother's mother. Okay, but maybe she's not believed to say your husband died. What is she testifying in essence? If she says your husband died, you have to do yibum, and if you have to marry my husband, my son, and then he's going to come back, and the husband will come back because really he didn't die, and then she'll be thrown out. She has some interest maybe to get this woman out of the way. Why? Because she doesn't like. Why doesn't she like her? Because she might be a daughter-in-law one day.
Basically, but if that guy that died is not her son,
No,
it's not the son.
no. They're the brothers from the common father. Common father. He even goes with the common father. And here, if the Taka he died and she falls to Yibum to the brother,
Right.
so then it's going to end up this woman is going to be the mother-in-law. So she's very wary of this woman because she doesn't want her to ever be her daughter-in-law. In fact, she doesn't want anybody to be her daughter-in-law. Because
She also doesn't want her son to get married. It's not a good way.
Why?
That's not her son.
no, she wants her son to temporarily get married to this sister-in-law, to do a chiv chorus. She's okay, all that put on the side.
It's the husband's son. It's not her son.
Oh, he's a son-in-law, a stepson. I see, thanks.
Stepson.
Right, she's going to testify that her stepson died in order that his wife shall marry to the Yibum, to her daughter.
The other stepson.
I made a mistake.
No, I didn't. I meant I didn't understand.
This is a husband's son,
Yes.
but that's not her interest is
That's her real son?
this is her son.
Oh,
This is her son. The diagram shows that this son is a result of this union of this one, and he has another son,
Interesting.
and now she's gonna want to make sure that this woman doesn't get yibum to her son. So what does she do? She says there should be yibum.
Right.
She makes up the case that she makes up the story that her husband died, this man died, and she should do yibum to my son. And then the husband's going to come back in 2 weeks,
Right.
and she's going to be thrown out. And now she say, oh, this woman is not going to be my son's daughter. Why? What's the problem? Because I don't want her to eat up my toil. So what does she want? Nobody should become like someone's going to be the daughter-in-law. Okay, that's the way it is. And that's the most question, at least, that even though she's not right now the mother-in-law, but maybe a potential mother-in-law also wants to get rid of the possibility that she shouldn't become the daughter-in-law. Where am I going over here? I got the wrong one. Here it is. Here's the Gemara. That's the question in the West, in Eretz Yisrael. Chamosa, let's get rid of this. Chamosa ba lachem mikein mahu. A mother-in-law that might be a mother-in-law one day. She's not yet a mother-in-law. She might be a mother-in-law. Does she take into consideration the possibility that the husband might die, and therefore the woman's going to fall to her son, the yavam, and she's going to become a mother-in-law and hate her? So might as well hate her now already. Or no?
Even by the potential. Splitting down the seats.
Okay, and the world wants to bring a right. Tashma, Amra Meis Bali, Vachkach Meis Chami. It's Mishnah coming up later on. That here's a case where we said a mother-in-law, a daughter-in-law is not trusted to talk about her mother-in-law, right? She can't say that her mother-in-law can get married. Here's a case where she first disconnects herself from being the daughter-in-law. She says, Meis Bali, My husband died and my father-in-law died. A new case. A woman says, my husband died. My husband's going to get all your money, and then I'm going to eat it. Don't worry, my husband died. I'm not getting it. I'm not going to be living with him to eat the Yerusha. I'm not going to. So you might think more that she's more believed. So over there it says, Tinase v'titok ksubasa v'chamusa asura. That even though she's believed on herself, she says, my husband died, so she can get married, she can get ksuba, regular din. But her still, even though she said, I'm not a daughter-in-law anymore, she's not believed to her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law can't get married on her testimony. My time, how come? How come you don't trust her as far as the mother-in-law? She disconnected herself. Lo bala mayis, v'lo chamia mayis, v'adikam rachi, l'kekula, l'chamoso, l'kemachavna. Savra, l'basa shaita, lo tesi titzaran. What's the case over here? Do we have any diagram over here? No diagram. So how come? Maybe
She just hates her anyway. She hates her.
yeah, maybe a diagram. Maybe I would get something here in the diagram. The first case of chamosa, right? Here, she's not the other way. The daughter-in-law. She's not believed to say here. She's not believed to say to her mother-in-law, "You can get married. Your husband died." Even if she says that my husband also died. My husband died, and your husband died. So she's believed on herself to get married, but she's not believed to her mother-in-law, even though she disconnected herself. Why not? Because V'choshesh, that really her husband didn't die, and her father-in-law didn't die. She just wants to mess her up, her mother-in-law.
So she's not going to get remarried.
Right, let's just see in a second.
Wait for the mother-in-law.
Because why? Because the Basa Savra, Shvashi explains that right now the husband's not around, right? If he's around, then with no question that he didn't die.
And the father was not around.
Both of them are not around. And she comes and says they should know that my husband died, your husband died.
They both died.
Right. So now, the Rashi says the Gemara's kasha is that she has no problem right now with her mother-in-law. Right now, her and her mother-in-law are good terms because why she hate her mother-in-law? The Gemara said according to one reason, because she thinks that the mother-in-law is telling her husband bad things about me. Right now, the husband's not here. Right now, she's on good terms with her mother-in-law because she's not scared of her now that she's telling bad things to her son about me because her son's not here. So you see that she's worried that that eventually the husband's going to come back. Right now, he's overseas, but he's going to come back. When he's going to come back, then she's going to start telling all bad things. So Rashi says that's the Gemara's comparison over here, that she's thinking about the future. The Gemara's question was about testifying about a mother, the case of this bottom case over here, that right now she's not a daughter-in-law, but she might be a daughter-in-law. So the same way the Gemara is saying over here that she's not worried right now. Right now things are good, but when the husband's going to come back, she might have bad experiences with the mother-in-law, so she really wants to get rid of her now.
Yeah, but you got to think that she has bad experience with the mother-in-law because when the husband was around already.
Right, that's the Gemara's answer. That she's already sensitive to the tzara she had from before already. That's what I should say. Saying the simple answer that here she had the tzaras already, and she still holds the grudge that the mother-in-law has been telling her for the past 10 years, telling me things. Right now, he run for overseas, but that's not a reason why everything's good. Not because he's going to come back, because it passed already. So okay, that's not that. There are the terutzim also you can say to this kasha. That's what the Gemara says, that it's not a comparison. So the Gemara leaves it as a question: is the chashash that she'll become a daughter-in-law one day, that she ready to mess her up? Not that the Gemara leaves as a question. Next halacha, next mishnah. Now we go still with the Eid Echad. So we said Eid Echad is believed to testify that the husband died, that she could be married. How about Eid Omer Meis v'Nisei? So Echad v'Omer Lo Meis. One Eid came and said that husband died, then she got married on that testimony, and then afterwards another Eid came and said he didn't die. One against one. She doesn't have to get divorced because it's only one Eid, one against one. And we'll see it's even stronger. We'll see in the Gemara it's even stronger, but she doesn't have to. Maybe she shouldn't get married if she's one against one. But if she got married, so then she doesn't have to get divorced because only one Eid saying that he didn't die. Second case, Eid Omer Meis or Shnaim Omer Lo Meis. One said that he died, and she got married, and two Eidim come and say he didn't die. So then it's mamish two of them against one, that then they get knocked out. Afish in this case, they say even if she didn't get married, she has to get divorced now because there's two Adam says that he didn't die, even though he didn't come home yet. But two Adam say it's not true, he's alive. So then she has to get divorced because two Adam knocked down the testimony of the one. How about the other case? Two said that he did die and she got married, and then an Echad comes and says he didn't die. Afish alone says even if she didn't get married yet, she's allowed to get married because two against one. The two knocked down the one. So the mission is pretty simple, that one against one don't get divorced. If two say he didn't die, then even if she got married, she has to get divorced. And if two say that he did die, then even if one says that he didn't die, she could get married because it's two against one. Which is good. Everything's good. But there might be some problems with that. The first kasha is time of the nisay salon nisay slow tinasay. The first case, one against one.
Right.
So the Mishnah says if she's married, she doesn't have to get divorced. Why don't she get married yet? And it's one against one. So don't get married. But there might be a problem. She should be able to get married. Whenever the Torah believes one, which is this case over here, the Torah believes one aid, that aid is enough to say you can get married. So she has a din of two. If it has a din of two, it should knock down the one.
Then the second guy has also.
No, the Torah doesn't believe to say lomes. The special Namadas here is to say that he did die. So the one who says that he died is like considered two. The one who says that he didn't die is considered one. So it's two against one. Doesn't mean that she got married. Once she got a heter, once the Bezdin Paskin and the Eid Echad, it's true. If we one on one come together, both of them come together in the same Bezdin, one on one says yes, one says not, then they're not going to be matir. But if one came and they said, yes, you can get married, so that's considered a very close deal. And the Torah believes like two, and even if one's going to come now, she's still going to get married. It doesn't mean she doesn't get, though they say that she shouldn't get divorced, even if she didn't get married yet. Once she got the official permission of the Bezdin, the psak, that she'd like to get married, she has a din of two, and she doesn't have to get divorced, even if another one comes, even if one comes and says not. Next case, Edom Mace. So we said one said Mace, and then two Edom said low Mace. So then she has to get divorced, even if she got married, because two Edom say low Mace, two against one. Two is surely stronger than one. And the Gemara has a kasha with this pshita, that it goes without saying, of course, if two Edom come and say that he didn't die, of course she has to get divorced. The Ein Devar Shel Echad Makom Shnayim, surely two is more than one. So even if the one said that he died, then it did, but here it's going to be two Edom, two strong Edom come against this Eid Echad, surely it's going to knock his words down and she has to get divorced. The Gemara says, that sometimes there is a chiddush that two is more than one. Usually two kosher Edom, it's not a chiddush that they're more than one. But the chiddush is that two pasal Edom might be considered more than one. The Tanya of Nechemia Omer, sometimes, when the Torah says that Eid Echad is believed, then you go according to the majority. What does that mean? So the Gemara is going to talk about that the two, not two kosher Edom for sure knock down the one, but the chiddush is going to be that two pasal Edom also knock down the one. And that the Gemara is going to talk about two possibilities, if it was the one a kosher Eid or one was the pasal Eid. So let's first talking about even a kosher Eid. You have one kosher Eid that said that the husband died. It's true, even the pasal Eid also is believed, but he happened to be a kosher Eid, not a relative. He was a man, kosher, tzaddik, and he says that the husband died, and you can get married. And then two pasal Eidim, women, or whatever the case is, that he uses a bunch of women over here, and two women came and said that he didn't die. Who wins? It's only an Eid Echad. Only Eid Echad said that he died, and you have two Eidim, not kosher. You're right. Surely kosher Eidim, no question. Two kosher Eidim knocked down everything. But here it's two pasal Eidim. So here it says that also has a strength. That the same way, if everything would be kosher, two men against one man instead of two wins. So also two pasal Eidim, like two women, would even win against one kosher Eid. That's the first side. That it's true that two kosher Eidim surely knock down everything. But here the chiddush is that the two pasal Eidim, and two pasal Eidim knock down also the one, even if the one is a kosher Eid. Then the boy saying it's going to be a little bit different, that if the one Eid is a kosher Eid, then he's going to be stronger. He's going to have a din of two, and the two women are not going to be able to knock down the one kosher man. But if it was not a man, he was a pasal, the one woman came, and one woman is also believed to say that your husband died, but two women is going to be stronger than the one woman, but wouldn't be stronger than one man. So if one kosher aid would have come, then he's believed to say that the husband died. And even if you have 100 women that come afterwards and say that he didn't die, that all is a din of one. That means the one kosher aid has a din of two, and the 100 non-kosher aid have a din of one, and he's going to win. So Rabbi Nechemia didn't mean in that case that two is more than one. Over there, the one kosher is better than the two non-kosher. But he meant to say that it was a possible one in the first place. The way that we permitted the woman to get married is because a woman came, a puzzle aid came to say that he died. So then two women is going to knock down one woman. The Tirsa of Rabbi Nechemia, he explained Rabbi Nechemia's words like this. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Kol Mokom She'amina Torah Echad, Halacha Achav Avdeis. What? Asu Shtei Nashim Be'isha Achas, Kishnei Nashim Be'ishachad. If it's women against women, means puzzle against puzzle, so then two outweighs one. If it would be two women against one kosher man, then the one kosher man is going to win. And we're not going to make her to get divorced. Over there, he's strong. One kosher is as strong as two puzzle. So that was a question about Rabbi Nechemia's din. Again, what did the Mishnah say? That two wins against one.
Right.
And the Gemara said it's partial. If it's two kosher aid, then that's surely no question that two wins against one. The Gemara's chiddush was that puzzle aid also, two puzzle aid is stronger than one aid. And that the Gemara question doesn't mean to say that two puzzle aid is stronger than one puzzle aid. Of course, all this puzzle aid means over here that by a woman getting married, we trust puzzle aid also. So maybe two puzzle aid is stronger than one puzzle aid that everybody holds. And the question of the Gemara was, two Lashonos in the Gemara, if two puzzle aid is stronger than one kosher aid. According to one Lashon, even one kosher aid will knock down. According to the second Lashon, it won't knock down a kosher aid. In the last case, the Mishnah was Shnaim Mace, that two said that he did die, and one said that he didn't die. Again, what does the Mishnah say in the last case now? Two said that he died, one said that he didn't die. Even if she got married, she has to get, two said he died, and she can get married. Mom is two Eidim. The Pashpashad has two kosher Eidim, and one said he didn't. So if she can get married, she has two Eidim, and even though one's nothing. So she can get married on the testimony. She didn't get married yet. She can get married on the testimony of two Eidim. And the Gemara says again, Pshita, kind of, that this goes without saying. And the Gemara says also a Chiddush. Not kosher. Kosher Eidim, surely she can get married with two kosher Eidim. The case is that they're not kosher Eidim that said that she can get married. And one aid came and said she cannot. So what are we saying? We're coming to say that two is more than one. That even if the puzzle aid, the two Eidim will win against the one, does the Basar of Deyos, but Hainuhach, the Gemara also doesn't see a Chiddush in that because we already said it before already. Now the Tema, okay, as Lina Basar of Deyos, the Chumrah, I will cool the low, Kamashman. You might think the case we said before, two against one, is when the two are coming to say that he didn't die. That's what you said before, that one said he died. Let's say, in a simple case, that one puzzle aid said that he died, so then two knock him down. Two stay lomes, so that's the chumrah to say that Afishanista states that she has to get divorced because two Eidim, even the puzzle Eidim, they're going to win against the one. But here the kula is going to be that two Eidim said that he did die. Are you going to say she can get married? Yes. Even the kula, you say that two is more than one, and she can get married on the testimony of the two puzzle Eidim, even though one Eid is coming to say that he didn't die. Adkan.
Okay.
Yashikach, everybody. Thank you. Yashikach.
1 hour. Thanks, sir.
Okay, we'll be back in a minute or two with Pirkei Avos. Yashikach, thank you.
Oh,